Hey there, we are live right now with Speakers Magazine. We got Nkechi Taifa and Troy Johnson. Oh my God. This is a special show. So I'll tell you all about it. We're going to be talking about books. Obviously, we're going to be talking about books and Speakers Magazine, Nkechi Taifa. But we have never had Troy Johnson on. And Troy Johnson is like the African American version of Amazon. Okay. He's been at this for probably over 2 decades. So we're going to talk all about that right after this. Hey there. So this is Black History Month. We've had Nkechi Taifa. She was on the cover in 2023 and then again in 2024 on a billboard. But this particular issue, Nkechi wanted to talk about her children's books as well as her memoir. But I brought Troy on because this is a special issue because Troy, she's topped the list of AALBC, African American Literary Book Club. That's what that stands for. And Troy has been doing this. Troy, has it been 2 decades plus?
Yeah, I actually sat down to create this site in October of 1997 and
Oh my
officially
God.
launched in March of 98.
Oh
So
my God.
we're looking at 26 years.
26 years. That is amazing. Thank you. Oh, you know what? So that was when really a lot. Tell us what was going on in 1996, 1997 in terms of African American books and African American authors and the internet, because people were scared to buy stuff online. I know that was probably part of it.
Well, you got that right. I actually started the website as an experiment to learn about e-commerce. Believe it or not, at the time I was building websites for other people, and one of my customers said she wasn't making any money, and I quickly figured out it was because no one was transacting online. But I decided to create a site, and I chose books, not because I was, one of those avid readers who loved literature. In fact, I was largely ignorant of literature. But I created the site, and a whole world opened up to me, and that's what become my mission to this day, of just sharing information about Black authors and our stories with more people, as many people as I can share it with. That's my goal. So from a technology perspective, it was the early days. Every single page, nothing was
HTML,
good. Huh?
HTML.
Yeah, HTML. I learned it from scratch. The first website was purely HTML. There were no tools. There was nothing to help you craft this stuff. And I've just along the way learned more and more, and I've been able to keep up. But in terms of books, what was out there. I mean, when I started the website, I really could capture all the books that were being published at the time. In other words, I was waiting for the next Black book to come out. So while I said it as an adult, I wasn't an avid reader. As a child, I was. And it was interesting. I heard an interview with Nkechi, and she was talking about when she was young, only books she read were Dick and Jane. And so I learned to read on Dick and Jane books. And I remember clearly the first time like it was yesterday, I might have been 4 or 5, the first time I saw a book with a Black character on it and how excited I was. And that was A Snowy Day. And that book was written by
Ezra Jack Keats.
Ezra Jack Keats. And I will talk about that. Maybe I'll bring it up now. I mean, one of the things that I've done, one of the things that I do is research the industry. And one of the things that I've learned most recently is that when we look at the top selling Black children's books, and when I say Black children's books, I mean books with Black subject matter, children's book about Harriet Tubman, for example, the best selling books aren't written by Black people. And
What?
so, yeah. And so
That's
what
not
you
good.
learn, and this is not widely known or discussed, and it's something that really should be probed in more deeply, because what you discover is that, we're not telling our own stories. I mean, there are some very visible, high profile children's book authors, but they're really the exception. They're not really the rule if you really look at it. And not only we're not telling our own stories, we are not profiting from them. And
Mhm.
so the work that Nkechi does is so super important, because she does something that's very different, and she may not even realize this, and how different and important what she does is. She actually supports what I describe as the Black book ecosystem. So any
Mm.
author can say, hey, I'm on Amazon and buy my book there. But if you are truly supportive of Black books, Black people, Black story, you have to support the people who are behind these things. So I
Yes.
know she does books with, she does print runs with Black Classic Press. She promotes Black booksellers. She promotes Black. She is, the fuel behind this. And I'm going on. I'm starting to rant now, but
No, 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 no. We talked about Black booksellers because in this particular issue, this person here, Ramonda, right, from Mahogany Books.
yes,
So her and her
Ramunda and
husband did
Derek over at
Mahogany Books.
Mahogany Books, and they have a couple of stores. I remember the one they first opened in Southeast DC. But
Mhm.
yeah, and they started out online, and they're doing great things now. So, in fact, on my site, you'll find a list of about 160 Black-owned bookstores. People often
Wow.
say, why do you promote other bookstores or other booksellers? They're your competition.
Yeah.
But no, they are critical to the Black book ecosystem.
Hmm.
Without other booksellers, we won't have the ability to sell, promote our own stories. And I think of that as reparations as well. I mean, we really have to take ownership of what we do. Yeah, I mean, it's no joke. I mean, it's this is
And
real. I mean, she
yes,
is
the real
right
deal.
now like the 24th best-selling author on the site. Now I have 8,000 authors profiled on the site,
Oh my.
and the reason she is Ms. Taifa is the one of the top-selling authors of all time on the site after over 26 years being online is because she's intentional about how she sells her books.
Hmm.
Sure,
Hmm.
she sells a bunch on Amazon, I'm sure, but she also sells through Black booksellers, and she also so that does a few things. One, it helps support my business, and so through her efforts, I am indirectly able to help other authors.
Mm.
It's much the same way.
Nikichi.
Yeah, I mean, it all feeds itself. I mean, and indeed, Pam, we met each other through Paul Coates.
Yes,
So Paul
yes.
Coates has been in business far longer than I've been. He's
Hmm.
an
He's
iconic
the
figure
OG.
in the
Hmm.
industry. Coming out of Howard, and Kichi comes out of Howard. I met you
I
through
think
Paul.
I think you said you had him as a professor. Didn't you say that, Nikichi? Or you just knew him
No,
when he
not
was
Paul Coates. But Paul Coates was connected with the Moreland Spingarn Room at Howard when I was at Howard. But he was never a professor. But we interacted. We knew each other from way back then in the 70s.
hmm hmm
Yeah. So again, so if Paul's business doesn't survive, indeed thrive, he can't support and help others like myself and you, Pam, and I mean it all feeds on each other. It's
hmm
a virtuous circle. Someone says once before, either you survive together or die alone, something like that. I mean, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, we really have to support our own businesses, and that's why Reparations on Fire is an AALBC best-selling book. I believe it's a 4-time AALBC bestseller. Um, you know what? I believe it's a 10-time AALBC bestseller. Let me correct that. So it's made our list 10 times, and
That says a lot. Nikichi, that
it
says a lot.
does. It really,
Because
really does.
he's got almost 10,000 books. on the site, right?
Yeah,
And like I said, he's intentional about why he started AALBC, which is really, African American Literary Book Club. Encouraging people. I always say books are like the roadmap to so many things that we want to do, possibilities and things like that. Books can change your life. So I always have been intentional about representing Black authors. Now Black speakers, because authors have to speak and speakers write. So those two go hand in hand, but the main thing is they're changing the world. So 26, 28, almost 3 decades ago, internet was brand new. A lot of people weren't writing books. And so writing a book at that time, like you said, I can kind of find where the Black books were and put on the site. Now the proliferation of Black books, tell us where we are now. How many pitches, I guess you would say, or how many books? I know you do some research. So how many books you think our African American authors are being produced a year versus way back then?
Well, a number of things have changed. One, yes, the internet did emerge, but the start of digital publishing, so the number, I don't know if anyone knows the number of Black books that are being published. And indeed, one of the goals of the African American Literature Book Club is to one day capture all of those books. So I would suspect that the number's been increasing since you was able to print books on demand. So but what makes my role and what I try to do is help readers discover those books, discover the best of what's being published.
Yeah.
So so when I described in the 90s sitting around waiting for the next book to come out, it's like a fire hose coming at me. It is physically impossible for me to know about every single book that's being published. But myself and others, we look at as many books as we can. We try to select the best out of what's being published and promote those books. So there are. Yeah, so we continue to curate our list. The site, as you mentioned, I designed it from scratch. And because I designed it from scratch, I can do anything I want to with it, in the sense that it's very different than other sites. Many sites, some booksellers just send people to bookshop, for example. Others use canned solutions that are very limiting what you can do. But, with ALBC, I can, report on books and aggregate books and look at books in a wide variety of ways. And some of those ways include, really keeping track of what genres books are in, what awards books have won, what our bestsellers are. And, I combine that with video, audio, book reviews, and a wide variety of content.
And you do the email newsletter. How many is on your list right now?
That list is just about 18,700. I actually just literally sent out something a few minutes ago. But that's a clean list. So
right. You're not spamming people. It's like people who want to know about what are the new Black books out there, what are the brand new ones, what videos do you have, what awards and things like that.
Exactly. I mean, you may not believe it, but there have been times where half of the subscribers have opened the newsletter. So an open rate of better than 50% is staggering.
That is.
And that's another thing that we don't celebrate. So if there's a platform that can consistently get anywhere between 35 and just over 50% of people are open up an email. So 9,000 people will open up an ALBC email. So if someone had that kind of consistent engagement on social, everybody would be screaming it from the top of the rooftops. Another thing that we have to do is celebrate our own platforms. Yes. So, your magazine, for example, I'm working on getting that on the site. You just showed me the print version of it. So I just learned about, it's all my fault. I've been sleeping on it. So that information needs to be celebrated. So when Nkechi does this, so I've seen her work where she talks about being in your magazine, being on your program. that's super important, because what we tend to do is, hey, I'm on social media, I'm on TikTok, and look at how many people I got, on TikTok, and what we're doing is amping up supporting someone else's platform they have no interest in us. They're only interested in what we can provide for them. And I can give you a bazillion anecdotes and stories about how, really social media has kind of gutted, Black indie platforms. And, it's large, and a large reason for that is because we constantly pump up and promote other man's platform. Yeah. And we have to pump up and promote our own platforms. And that's important. And I
want people to understand too, it's not and Nkechi, you could say this too, that the Black press and anything that we own Black, it's not that we're going to be apologetic about supporting our own, because a lot of people are like, well, what? No, we have to if we want to grow. So the Afro, which is in Washington, D.C., the Washington Informer, Cathy Hughes, obviously she started in D.C. Those are different platforms that, yes, there we go. One of the oldest African American, actually, that was
literally
McKenzie's grandfather that started that newspaper.
Wait, say that again?
Vashti McKenzie. That was her grandfather that started the Afro.
Really?
Yeah, Bishop Vashti McKenzie, one of the first African American, or the first women in the AME Church. Her grandmother.
Okay.
And she worked there. She said she worked there when she was in high school, and then basically she started working for Cathy Hughes. And our ecosystem is what is going to make us stronger. And so we want to celebrate each other. We want to celebrate our own books. We want to celebrate Black booksellers. We want to celebrate Black e-commerce sites. We do want to do that because that grows it, and it inspires the generation behind us. So we don't want to whitewash it, and it's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, whatever. Then they'll go work for someone else, and then eventually they'll sell, and then they don't have any legacy of what they have did. So that I always say we want to build legacy, just like within the generations of any other business. So that is why I'm so pro all the time. It's almost like, can Pam say that anymore? Yeah, I say that all the time. We're the official magazine of Black Speakers Network. We promote African American books. I wanted Troy to be on because Troy is always like behind the scenes, right? So a lot of times I wanted people to know who Troy Johnson is. It's been around, like, this is like, he's the GOAT. Like, seriously, when you hear Nkechi, when you hear him talk about this, it's like, he ain't new to this. He's just true to this. That's his thing. Just like you with reparations, the recent years, people have been talking about the last 4 really like been on fire. But you first published this book when?
Well, actually, Reparations on Fire was published in 2021, but the root of it came from this book, Reparations, yes, which was published in 1987. Troy, you don't even know anything about this one. It was co-published with 2 persons, Chokwe Lumumba, whose son is now the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, and Imari Abubakar Obadeli. They were my mentors. This was back in 1987 when nobody was seriously talking about the issue of reparations. And this book, I found, this came out long before the internet, long before any and everything. But when I saw this book selling on Amazon for like $8,000, and I'm saying, what in the world? They had been out of print for decades, was never even on the internet. People were selling it. I hope no one was buying it for that. So that's why I decided to publish Reparations on Fire, bringing it up to date, but including as an appendix to that, this small book. So this was an appendix to this. And this book, I found out in 2020, along with my children's book, Shiny Legacy, I found out that they were on the banned book list of the Central York, Pennsylvania School District. And this book, my children's book, Shiny Legacy, had been out of print in decades. This book was first published in 1983. Okay. And when I say, how in the world did my books end up on a banned book list? And, how did they even get it? So that's when I decided, Troy, around the time when I met you, to republish my works and make them available for a new generation. And technically, this book was part of this book. So both of these were banned. And this was my book that came out in 1993. This was called The Adventures of Kojo and Amma. And this was my response to the White Dick and Jane Spot the Dog books that I grew up in my childhood. We have Kojo and Amma, an African-American brother and sister, and their black cat Sheba, who brings good luck. Okay.
I love it. I love it. And you were, and so your background really is because you were a teacher.
Yeah. So, most folk really, first of all, Troy, I am very intentional about steering people to buy Black. So I do a lot of speaking engagements, and all throughout COVID, and even now that everything is on Zoom, when I'm doing a speaking engagement online, I always put the direct link to aalbc.com in the chat. So all people have to do is just click on it. And all 5 of my books you have, Shining Legacy, The Adventures of Kojo and Amma, 3 Tales of Wisdom, my memoir, Black Power, Black Lawyer, and my reparations book, Reparations on Fire. So all of those are on AALBC, and I intentionally steer people there. Of course, it's very easy for people to just go to Amazon and all like that, but I send people first to the Black Connection, shall we say. Mm-hmm. And on my Black Power, Black Lawyer website, I had a whole list, I'm presuming it's still there, of different Black bookstores across the country that I linked to. Most of them probably don't even carry my book, but I link to it so that people can go there. And if they don't get my book, it's fine. There's a whole potpourri, like you said. There's so many Black books out there now. When I started, let me say, there was Lucille Clifton. There was Eloise Greenfield. There was Ezra Jax Keith. That was about it. There wasn't, but so Sharon Bell Mathis. But there wasn't but so many. And Eloise once told me, Miss Eloise, and then, she was in D.C. and I was in D.C. We were in writers groups together and all like that. She said, when Nikisha, your stuff is so preachy. And I knew what she was talking about. I mean, children, well, you're not supposed to be preachy, But, I am me. So this is about famous Black heroes from Malcolm X. And today is February 21st, the day that Malcolm X was assassinated, to Harriet Tubman, to Toussaint Louverture, and Demar Beese, and Marcus Garvey, and Paul Robeson, and all like that. Because I did not learn any of this myself growing up from the books.
I didn't either. I didn't learn about that till adulthood.
So I wanted to make sure that youth of today, I don't consider myself I'm a lawyer. Okay, that's why most folk don't even know about these things that I write, because that hasn't been what I pushed. And that's why Dr. Pam, I said, I'm going to be on the cover. I want to uplift the children's books. Yeah. People don't know that part of me, the cover of Speakers Magazine. And the billboard has me holding up all of my books. I was so proud about that. That
was intentional. It's something about a lawyer, because this one, she's actually in the same issue as you as well, Deidre Moore. And so Deidre is From Me to You, the powerful storytelling of its inherent generational wealth in African-American stories. She's an attorney, now running for judge, but wrote a children's book. It's a children's picture book, right? But it's really talking about history. And she did it from the standpoint that she wanted her young son to really know more about the history that wasn't being told, that she saw his books and she was like, this is not enough. And she did the research. I guess that's what lawyers do, right? They do all the research, they find all the cases, they make the point, and she wrote this book. And that's what I think that I just love about, and she speaks on it and trying to make a difference. So lawyers are always about justice. Obviously, that's the main thing. So you can see why it's a natural for them to want to spread the information about our history. Why is it important to know? And either one, you can answer that. It's Black History Month. Why is it important, as we wrap up, to know our history? What is the main reason why Blacks should know their history in America?
Well, Troy, you go on and start, and then I'll bring up the beer.
All right, that sounds good. I'm going to approach it from a different angle. So why is it important? It's obviously important, and I'll let Nkechi speak directly to that. But what I will say is, despite all the technology that we have, despite all of the access to data, more information than ever before, it is still exceedingly difficult for the word about Black books to get out. Again, ignoring the handful of authors whose books we all know about that sell well. There are a tremendous number of excellent books that just aren't being promoted very well, and there's a good reason for that. And the reason is that we really have to be more active in promoting the booksellers that are going to be promoting these books. So the books that you're going to find on ALBC, and we're actually working on a way to help elevate and amplify Black books. And it's a big project, and I'll make it public. We'll make it public in the next few months. But
I'll promote it.
What we're going to, thank you, but we're going to, in a more structured and organized way, amplify Black books. And it will be an unprecedented effort. And in order for it to succeed, we will need people to help elevate it. So when we talk about the books that Nkechi has, the children's book that she's done, and the one that you just highlighted with us, they're not going to make the New York Times bestsellers list, which is what many booksellers care about. So they buy the books off that list and they keep it moving, but they don't probe deeply. They have no motivation to. And we have a motivation to do that, to uplift the books that aren't getting the attention that they deserve. And so that's one of my goals. And why that's important, I'll let Nkechi explain why that's important.
All right. So I'm gonna let Nkechi.
It's so very important and so very critical. When you look at the word history, that's what it is. That's what it is today. It's his story. We don't need to be dealing with his story. We need to be dealing with our story, and definitely not his story, i.e. history that's only 1 month out of the year. Our story is 365 days out of the year, every single day, talking about what we talk about, Black folk. There's an African proverb that goes something like a tree without a person without a knowledge of their history is like a tree without roots. Both have no water, they have no substance, so something along those lines. So that's what studying about the past does. We can see even today, the reason why they are banning books out there, banning Black books, banning the teaching of true history, because they don't want us to have a knowledge of ourselves. And that is what ALBC, Speakers Magazine, and all of these other entities that are out there are seeking to do, to smash that whole paradigm and make sure that generations that come after us have a firm knowledge of their past so that they can righteously go forward into the future. So Black history is so very important. We need to take it out of the his and bring it into the hours, 365 days a year.
That's it. That is it. NkechiTaifa.com. You can find more of that. I mean, her TED Talk is on the site. I mean, she is just speaking all over the place. So one of the things that people, when they hear you, they say your energy is contagious, that you want to learn more, that you want to do more. So not just learn it, but you activate people to want to do more. So I appreciate that right there. I'm just going to say that's like a mic drop, because that is so true. Because if we know our history, a lot of the ills of our society and the ills in our community will go away, because you really know who you are, who your true self is. And so I appreciate all of that as well. Troy, that is when you get to the point where you're going to do your new thing, because you're kind of hinted about it, but we definitely want to support you. There's so many. I remember Black Planet back in the day when that was around, and it could have, people said that could have been like the Facebook or whatever. I mean, but there's so many other things that in terms of African American technology, things that we can support and endorse. Speakers Magazine, we are partnered with Black Speakers Network. We partner with PitchDB, which is African American owned. We partner with Talkabout, which is Black owned. I mean, so in order for this ecosystem to grow, we've got to be intentional. It started with me, just understanding that the more I spend my money in my own community, it'll come back to me. Even if I'm buying a car, I may not can buy it from a Black, manufacturer, but I can definitely buy it from a Black auto dealer, right?
Yep.
So, because that does help as well. And so when I see people and they pull up in their cars or whatever, and the first thing I think is like, I wonder where they bought this car, who they bought this car from, because they had to buy it from a salesperson. Was the salesperson Black? Did the salesperson, I'm saying, like, feed our own families. Like, what, have some consciousness. That's all I'm saying. Just have some consciousness.
All right. I'd like to add one other thing, and this speaks to the banning of books. We are literally, in terms of books, we are literally in a period of reconstruction. The banning of books is really a backlash to the support that was given to Black booksellers immediately after George Floyd's murder, on the heels of the Obama presidency. What we're looking at, we're in the throes. We're really we're witnessing folks just reacting to all of the support that and progress Black people have made, and that threatens people. And that's so this is what we're dealing with. And unfortunately, if you're not reading, if you consume news solely through social media, you're being lied to. I don't even live in Baltimore, but I subscribe to this newspaper and generally a couple of others, simply to be better informed. And it's important that we pay to get these things, because information is not free. News is not free. We've been programmed to think that you just go online and you should be able to get everything for free, but it costs money to produce news. So if you think of our situation as in the same manner that Southerners reacted to Black people after slavery ended, and reversed all of the freedoms that we were given, and literally tore people out of the Congress. That's where we are in terms of books. So they're banning up.
That's a good analogy.
No,
I never thought about it that way. That is so true, because right after that was the worst period, because we got all the freedoms. We did get the 40 acres and the mule, but at that point we had freedom, and then from there it was horrendous because of the backlash of the things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have to fight.
We have to keep marching on, keep doing the thing, keep doing the darn thing, and being intentional about it, being louder about it. That's one of the main things, being louder about it, and just really making sure that you're supporting. When you see another African-American that is doing good, support them. I mean, I tell people all the time, I said, it's nothing to subscribe to their newsletter and then maybe just forward it to a friend. I mean, that doesn't cost you anything.
And then word of mouth. I mean, Pam, Dr. Pam, I found out about you from word of mouth. I mean, I'm just saying, it's so very important that we pass on to other people what helped to bring us to success. Everything that you see about me today, Joy, all the stuff that you see, a lot of that is a product of what I learned from Dr. Pam Perry. Okay, she made sure I had all of the products in place so that I would be able to take advantage of opportunities that came along and came about. I didn't even know that you two had a connection at first. So it's all very, I mean, that you had a connection with BC. So it's all interconnected because we are family, right?
That's it. That is it. Yeah. And families really, besides being Black History Month, when all of this is trending, we know that it's 24/7. It's all the time. It's what we live. And so we're just trying to make sure that we're doing that. So speakersmagazine.com, you can read the issues for free. You can watch the videos for free. All I ask is that you share and hit the share button. Let other people know. You see her videos. It's, the video that's embedded on the cover, Nikisha, I believe, is the TEDx talk that's on there, which is on the TED stage. But make sure that you're sharing it, and then making sure that you go to AALBC, sign up to be on the newsletter, get the books from there. It doesn't cost you anything to sign up for the newsletter and to get the newsletter and to share the newsletter and to follow them on social media. Those are some of the things that you can do so that you can actually be aware and share the information out. That's all I say. Information is power.
Absolutely.
But it's got to be shared. Can't keep it a secret. So you guys, it is actually here it is. Oh my God, yes, of course. LaShonda says our books are important. We have to tell all the readers. So LaShonda Hoffman has been in the space and in the game as well. So I know LaShonda Hoffman. She really loves a lot of the fiction books. So she's really like a big mentor for all of the African American books in that space. So that is it. Hey, LaShonda. So thank you so much for joining us today and listening in. So you guys, I'm gonna let you guys go, but thank you all so much for joining. Troy, I had to wrestle you down to get you in here. Okay. All right, Nkechi, this is interview number 3 that we've done, but we're winding down to Black History Month. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. God bless you guys, and I'll talk with you all later. All right, bye-bye. So Speakers Magazine, go to speakersmagazine.com, get the magazine, read it, blackspeakersnetwork.com, AALBC.com, all of the things that you want to do to really move your community forward, support it. That's all I'm saying. Just support it. So with that, I am Pam Perry, and I'm out of here.